The mystery of the empty Rolex stores has finally been revealed, and it's now time to unload the bag. This is massive news, and it raises lots and lots of questions. In response to a recurring supply shortage, Rolex decided to speak up last year, saying, "The scarcity of our products is not a strategy." Although Rolex did not intentionally create this scarcity, they try their best to keep it that way. It's worth mentioning that many authorized retailers said they aren't really receiving less Rolex watches than they were a few years back. When supply falls short of demand, it upsets both retailers and customers. One may argue that the clientele for Rolex has evolved and grown. Looking back, we used to think that these watches were just for older people and not for the younger ones. Well, times have changed, guys. Trends change. Many people from a younger generation are now purchasing and wearing Rolex watches, which was not even possible a decade ago. The Crown has a reputation for rarely commenting on records, choosing to let their products speak for themselves. Rolex, on the other hand, has become a source of increasing disappointment for buyers all over the world. Their most coveted designs are practically impossible to come by in stores. This has not always been that way. For years, customers have already been complaining about the scarcity of Rolex watches, but despite the fact that the topic has been debated in practically every watch forum and publication, Rolex has remained silent until now. But why are they doing this now? Why break away from the company's long-held rule of not making comments on production and distribution? Although everyone has been questioning for years on what this all means, it turns out that no one just tried to ask Rolex themselves. Since the pandemic's peak in 2020, many businesses have struggled and faced shortages all throughout the world. The pandemic supply shortage propelled much of this, especially high-end timepieces. Is there some kind of conspiracy going on here? Keep watching until the end of the video to find out and know more about the Rolex watch shortage. Welcome back to Above First Glass. Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. So, what's the deal with Rolex? And where did this scarcity even come from? Well, let's find out together. In the world of high-end timepieces, Rolex is king. Rolex is the world's most popular brand, and no matter where you are or who you mention, the great majority of people will instantly recognize the brand. Rolex is a big and powerful company that has done a fantastic job developing its brand and made a name for itself in the market. Rolex watches are currently considered as the ultimate symbol of wealth. Today we will reveal the true reasons for the shortage of these exquisite timepieces. Now, let us address the burning question. What is it about the most famous sports models that have year-long waiting lists at authorized Rolex stores? When did this craze begin? As you know, the Rolex situation hasn't always been as it is now, when you can purchase a professional Rolex watch from an authorized Rolex dealer without having to wait for years. It's hard to identify a specific date, but the debut of Rolex's Daytona 116500 LN at Baselworld in 2016 was a watershed moment. It was a game changer. The Rolex Daytona has always been a legendary timepiece with a distinct place in history and a key element in the Rolex brand's heritage. However, when Rolex released a ceramic bezel Daytona with a white or black dial, this was even more confirmed. The Rolex shortage did not begin at this precise moment. The public began to talk about the year-long waitlist for this model at this time. There were a lot of speculations, and the bizarre obsession intensified as those who were among the first to obtain them grew in demand. The new watch, which was flaunted on social media by those lucky enough to have one, made a lot of buzz, sending demand through the roof. Collectors who tried to get one from their local authorized dealer were informed it was sold out and placed on a waiting list. Clearly, this heightened the hype and demand. People started noticing the long lines and scarcity of this certain watch. And the thing is that we humans are always hungry for the things we can't have. Wouldn't you agree? For that reason, people were even more interested in getting one. And it's obvious why the Daytona 116500 is dubbed as the watch that started it all. It's different, it's exciting, it's also unforgettable, and it's pretty hard to grab a hold of one. Enjoying this video so far? Make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. The Rolex shortage now extends to nearly all full stainless steel sports watches, including the Submariner, Explorer, Sea Dweller, GMT Master 2, and others. Let me tell you a secret, Rolex sports models aren't all that rare. Rolex watches are mass-produced, with approximately 1 million watches produced per year. On the secondary market, there are loads of timepieces available. It's only that demand has exceeded supply in recent years, leading to a shortage. No one really knows the exact production figures, despite how many are available, although it is estimated to be roughly 500,000 watches each year. So why is there a shortage of Rolex professional models, particularly stainless steel sports models? Well, the answer is pretty simple. Demand outnumbers supply. To put it another way, Rolex's current production capacity is not enough. Take note that we're talking about new Rolex watches that the company makes and sells through authorized dealers. Isn't it ridiculous that 500,000 watches aren't enough each year? Sheesh. But if you really do want to buy a Rolex watch right now and have been worried about the news, don't worry, because this is only the case for new Rolex watches from authorized dealers. You still have the option of looking through the secondhand marketplace, where you may find hundreds of sports and professional Rolex models for sale. However, this leads us to the second point, which is pricing. This is where things spice up. Let's talk about the pricing of stainless steel sports Rolex watches. We all know that the supply and demand ratio could lead to price changes and twists. Although stainless steel Rolex watches have been hard to come by, two-tone as well as full gold Rolex watches have become increasingly popular and tough to grab. When buyers can't get their hands on stainless steel models, they opt for the next best option, and that could be a two-tone Submariner, as we have highlighted. There are a range of theories as to why stainless steel sports Rolex watches are so hard to come by. Again, these aren't our theories. Instead, we're revealing what others think is causing the Rolex professional shortage. The fear of being out of the loop or not being the coolest and a shortage have a major effect on us. We always crave what we can't have, and a shortage plays a significant role in the perception of luxury. Imagine this. Would you be as eager to buy it if there were 5 or more Rolex watches on display as if there was only one? Yeah, I don't think so. All of these things are good for the brand, and Rolex could have paid attention to this, so they may now adjust the number of watches manufactured to guarantee that demand is never met, as a limited supply means higher demand exclusivity and increased brand recognition. I know you're probably wondering when the Rolex watch shortage will end. This is a question that no one in the world has the answer to. I'm pretty sure that nothing's going to change anytime soon, but playing this marketing game too long can come back to bite. Don't forget that Rolex watches are luxury products, and when the economy is sinking, they are the most expensive. In fact, demand for Rolex watches is expected to decline, and for that reason, the supply for these watches will obviously suffer. Only time can tell whether this has an impact on the supply of stainless steel watches. Rolex is attempting to increase supply though, at least in some part, due to the rising demand. Perhaps this means that instead of 0 watches in store glass cases, we'll have 1 or 2. Fingers crossed. And that's a wrap for today's episode. Thank you for watching and stay tuned for more Rolex news in the future. If you liked the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. See you next time in Above First Class.